Hey, what's up guys? Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. Trust you guys are doing well. All right, let's talk about Yardbook for a few minutes here. This is going to be a different pace kind of video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If any of you guys have been keeping up with us over the last 3 to 6 months here with my lawn and landscape business, especially on YouTube, you guys know that about 4 or 5 months ago, I had adopted some new software for our lawn care landscaping business. And this is my first 100 days, whatever you want to call it, utilizing Yardbook, which is the new software that we moved over for our lawn and landscape business. And a lot of you guys have been asking about updates about how we've been using Yardbook, if I like it, so on and so forth. So I'm going to be talking to you guys here for the next 5 to 10 minutes about my experience with Yardbook so far. This is a sponsored video, actually. We are going to be doing some advertising here on the channel with Yardbook. They have been a great group of people to work with and fantastic people to banter back and forth with and grow their platform while also helping me grow my business. So if you guys have not checked out Yardbook, make sure you guys do check them out at yardbook.com. I'll have links in the description and all that fun stuff below. But what I wanted to do for just a next couple of minutes here is explain to you guys a little bit more about the last 100 days, the amount of business we've put through Yardbook, how things have been going, things I like, things I don't like, and so on and so forth. And most of you guys, if you, like I said, have been catching up with me and following along since December, January, even kind of February timeframe, you guys know that I was in the market for some new lawn care software. Now, most of you guys know the main reason I switched over from using Square Register to Yardbooks was basically to help get a better handle on my cash flow. Now, there's other reasons as well, like I was saying earlier, which was making better schedules, better routes, keeping a better log for all my customers with the work that we've done, and just get better with communication for customers as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. A couple main reasons why was, number one, getting better with our cash flow. We have a decent sized business. I joke all the time that we do run a decent sized lawn and landscape company, and we do make some decent income. It's, you know, I don't claim to have the biggest lawn care business, landscaping business by any means, but I will say for what I do and the amount of effort I put into it, we have a pretty good return on it, and it's been a decent little income. Well, one thing that I was really having an issue the last 2-3 years, especially as the business has doubled and tripled, literally, it's just been very blessed and very thankful kind of a scenario, is that we were having some massive cash flow issues. So most of you guys know on my lawn business, for example, I don't do contracts for the lawn care stuff. Everything is pretty much a la carte. And normally we end our month, we do month to month, and we would just cash out, tender out by invoicing everyone. Looks good, sounds good, and you know what, honestly, the program was pretty, streamlined and as good as I could. But I just felt like over the last 24 months, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I just felt like I turned into a professional debt collector. We definitely got really good at collecting on those payments and catching up with everyone, but it was still the fact that we had 20% of our folks still trickling in, on the 3rd, 4th week, and it was bleeding into 5 and 6 weeks out, and I was just getting really frustrated with it, to be honest with you guys. There was times where, one week we'd have $4 grand deposited, another week we'd have $2-3 grand deposited, then it'd be another $3-4 grand deposited, and it was just, the cash flow was all up and down. And, some weeks, you have $8 grand in the account, it gets drained, you're back up $5 grand, and it was just never streamlined. I never had all my money up front or at the end of the month, honestly, kind of like how we do now. In fact, here's the awesomest thing that I can tell you guys is over the last, I'd say 6, 8, 10 weeks, we've run a teacher salary worth of income through our Yardbooks and for our lawn and landscape business. I have personally done more on the last 10 weeks or so than probably the first half of my lawn care business last year. We are up big time. I'm not here to impress you guys. I'm just trying to give you context if you're in the same position I'm in, maybe as an owner operator, and you have a lot of customers and a lot of business, relative, of course. But basically what we did was at the end of May, I now do all of my customers, same thing month to month, but we moved to a charge card on file system. That is pretty much the biggest game changer and probably the number one thing I want to communicate to you guys with my experience so far of why I adopted Yardbook was to fix our cash flow. And so basically, we now have the ability through Yardbook, once we create a new customer on file, to populate a credit credit card on file by sending them a private invite link. By the way, that was something that was not established with Yardbooks up until about 60 days ago. I told them how I run my business. I got on the phone with Mark, the main guy who codes, and he is just an amazing individual. The customer service with Yardbook is literally second to none. And it's not just because of me and my position with YouTube and some other stuff that we got going on. It's just a really good, I've heard this across the board, just great customer service. What Mark actually did was install a new credit card feature where you can now send out an invite link to people instead of taking everybody's credit card number down and the CVV code, which you got to be really cautious with that. A lot of you folks weighed in on that, so I super appreciate that. But now we can invite folks to populate their card on file. We don't see any of that information, for example. And now in this scenario, as I had 150 plus people with all their end of month, I could invoice them and basically just charge the whole way through. Now, again, this is in context. All my folks knew how the program worked. They knew that they would be charged at the end of the month plus 1 day. So if you're a Tuesday cut, I'd wrap up on Tuesday at the end of the month and charge on Wednesday. And most of them, for my example, $25 weekly cuts, it would end up being $100 a month, maybe $125. Just to give you guys some context and some numbers here. So basically, at the end of May, we cashed out a gob of money, and we had like $5 grand, $4 grand, basically day to day. I'd cash out my Mondays and my Tuesdays so we cleaned up, and I had more money in the checking account by like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a couple days, like 3-4 days later, which I've noticed is how long it kind of takes for that money to transfer over. And basically it was no more of this up and down crazy cash flow. My friend Mike Bedell coaches me a little bit. It was very refreshing knowing that I could put this chunk aside to pay taxes and some other stuff, this chunk aside for payroll, this chunk aside to take care of the business, this chunk aside to pay all my personal bills and all that, and then this is what we have left over. And it's super refreshing. It's talking about being hang loose and just being so much more chill with your lawn and landscape business. In fact, the first time that we did all this, we had about 8 or 10 stragglers that came through, and we just invoiced them. I caught up with those guys and said, hey, basically, if you don't put a card on file, we're no longer going to be able to do service for you. And 8 out of 10 of those people immediately were like, hey, no problem, my bad, just have been busy. Here's a card on file. And maybe 1 or 2 we had to let go. But honestly, in this whole transition, doing what I'm doing with my lawn and landscape business, I'll tell you guys, I don't think I had more than 1 or 2 people fall off on this whole credit card on file process and system. A couple people were, security background folks and IT background folks. And I said, hey, if you're not comfortable with that, go get a low yield, low line of credit card. And you know what, you can put a $500 limit on it. And if that ever gets stolen or anything crazy, because, people think extremes, then at least you're mitigating your losses and you're good to go. So honestly, I had very little pushback, great feedback from everybody. Everybody loves the ability to not have to think about their bill. They just know it's coming out. And you know what, for me, in my scenario, in my business, it worked out great. Is it going to work out great for you that way? I don't know. That's up to you. But basically, I went from invoicing folks, we would send out 150 invoices at the end of the month, to now charge card on file 150 people and sending them a receipt. And holy cow, you want to talk about game changer. In fact, this isn't just for folks with, revenues from 10 grand a year to 200 grand a year. There's a friend of mine named Alex, not Alex Leica, but a different Alex. We might do some videos with him in the future, another guy. And, I come to learn after talking to him a little bit about my business and some stuff. We made some business transactions as well, actually selling some customers to him. He actually has a decent sized business, and he has a friend who utilizes Yardbooks as well, who has 4 crews, 4 rigs, probably does 300-400 grand a year in business. So I don't think Yardbooks is exclusive to the small business owner necessarily. Now, if you're enterprise and you have, maybe 50 people working for you, there might be other software for you, that's fine. But personally, based on all your guys' feedback, which is one of the deciding reasons I went with Yardbook, I would just thought that it has made things so much easier. And based on all of your guys' feedbacks and suggestions on the measurement tool, the estimation tool, how to do estimates and have them get approved for like a subcontractor, the ability to make routes and map everything in your calendar and schedule jobs, literally, it's just a game changer. You got to understand, I came from Excel and like little spreadsheets and kind of made my own stuff up to actual lawn care software. And it has just made the ability to track the customer service history so much easier. As you guys can imagine, when I go in the customer profile now, we have payment history, invoice history, estimation history, customer notes. And from a guy who went from nothing to something, it's an absolute game changer. So I've been extremely happy with Yardbooks my first month. We're about to finish up June right now, and we will be doing another batch out. And I literally told my wife, hey, I can't wait for XYZ to come in. We already have so much left in the bank. I can't wait for this to come in too. Wow, what a major blessing. So that's just my experience. Now, I will say with talking with Mark and the rest of his team, you know what, to be honest with you guys, the customer service and the feedback is second to none. And you know what? Most of you guys said that to me before I even adopted the service, and that has been a game changer. They have the sitemap with the help desk and the tutorial videos, the ability to email those guys and get a pretty quick response, I'd say in under 24 hours. That's pretty clutch in today's world, especially with software and lawn care. One other thing I was going to mention is that the whole software, I don't think it's a full service, full enterprise level with managing payroll and employees and expenses and P&Ls. Some of those parts are included in the software, but I'm still working with my friend Mike Bedell as my business grows to manage payroll and using other services like a QuickBooks to go in tandem with using Yardbooks. So I still think there's room to grow. I was talking with Mark for about an hour one day, just getting to know him and his story and how Yardbooks even came to be. Just a fantastic gentleman and fantastic group of people that he has with his whole team. And the cool thing he was mentioning to me is that now we have this foundation built with Yardbooks and the ability to now grow it over the next few years. There's the chemical tracking 2.0. There's ability to integrate MailChimp, which we're going to be doing some campaigns in summer for, mid-season pruning and landscaping and just upselling as we are now, more even and more tame on the schedule. So there's room for upselling and doing extra work. So with the current features plus the additional features to come and things that are just getting released left and right, it's kind of like, I always joke, it's kind of like your iPhone. It can do so much for you, but we all only use about 10% of it. That's the cool thing with Yardbooks, I feel, is that you can pick and choose what you want to use, what you need, what you don't need, etc., and make that software work for you. So all things being said, I'm curious to know if you guys have been using Yardbooks, if you guys are in the market for new software, if you guys have adopted Yardbooks, or if you want a completely different route. No harm, no foul. You know what, to be honest with you, I had moved to Yardbooks way before we talked sponsorships and doing some advertising on the channel. Thanks to a couple of you guys out there, including my good friend Jonathan with Florida Turf Pros. And me and him both have the very similar workflow with how we manage our business. Even though he's a newer business owner and I've been doing this for 11 seasons, no doubt about it, there's just a great minds think alike, they always say. And the way he has his accounting finance background and the way I tackle my business, that's what was one of the things that pushed me over the edge of the fact that if he's running his business with Yardbooks, then it's probably good for me. We had a couple of phone calls that kind of sealed the deal. So always want to say a big shout out and thank you to Jonathan with Florida Turf Pros. Beyond all that, guys, it has been great. I can't wait to give you guys some more updates as we go over the next month or two, maybe a 4 to 6 month update, maybe a mid-season update, and then an end-of-year update. Quite honestly, guys, whether it works out for you using Yardbook, that is totally up to you. Like I said, I'll leave links in the description. You can use the software. It's basically free. I think they have like a 1% processing fee now, but honestly, in the grand scheme of things, for what you get, it's a very little investment, especially compared to other services out there, free or not. What you get in the totality of Yardbooks with the routes and the maps and the schedule and the calendar, honestly, it's a game changer. Now, will that all work out for you? Is it something that you guys need to utilize? That's up to you. I'm not here to convince you to use Yardbooks. I'm letting you know that for me and my little personal testimony here, from going from cash flow that was just bizarre and crazy to no real logs, no real customer history or profiles, to holy cow, managing our cash flow where literally at the end of the month, it used to take me 2 to 3 hours to batch everybody out and do invoicing. And then probably I'd say a good 2 hours a week chasing money down for all the stragglers. And I mean like 2 to 3 hours a week, 20 minutes here, a text message there, still never getting it. We're going to do late fees, never enforcing them because I just, I'm a softie. To now at the end of the month, which is this week coming up, we're going to go through 150 people, cash everybody out, and literally 2 to 3, 4 days later, we'll have a gob of money in the bank. And you know what? You want to talk about taking the stress off. You want to talk about already having your payroll taken care of, your fuel costs taken care of, upgrades taken care of. You want to buy new equipment and all that money is already in the bank. Again, I'm a huge monthly cash flow kind of guy. I don't do a lot with prepay. So for me personally, it has been literally a game changer. So if you guys have questions, leave me a comment down below. This is my plug for Yardbook. This is a sponsored video. They wanted me to share my testimony with you guys. Quite honestly, I owe them a gob because this has just been such a blessing of software. And outside of them, I want to say a thank you to all of you guys. When back in February, March, I did that video when I was in my apartment, and you guys had suggested a couple different companies and a couple different softwares out there, but overwhelmingly, a lot of you guys said go with Yardbooks, and I'm super glad that I did. I always joke, YouTube is a two-way street, and I super appreciate you guys teaching me how to grow a better lawn care landscaping business. It's not only just me teaching my latest and greatest, but even somebody who's been doing this for 10, 11 years, it has been just a treat getting to interact with you guys and listen and learn how you guys run your business as well. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. You guys already know the sign off. Don't forget to like this video if it helped you out. And if you guys are new, definitely hit the subscribe button. I'm definitely doing latest and greatest videos like this to teach you how to run a better lawn and landscape business, and including talking about lawn care software apparently. So, all right, guys, over and out. Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.